Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen Podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Wingmen Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Cryptek. And I am personally super stoked to be partnered with Cryptek. Just a company whose ethos I just align with on so many levels. As a hunter, as a shooter, as a freedom-loving, patriotic American. The Cryptek is a veteran-owned company that was started by producing top-notch camouflage patterns that are Department of Defense approved, and man, it shows in the field. The camouflage patterns, I don't care whether we're talking Highlander or the Obscura patterns or any of the various patterns that they produce, Highlander being probably my favorite, but the Obscura transitional pattern coming in a very close second, depending on terrain, depending on what I'm looking at. Those patterns just disappear in the field, whether I'm hunting waterfowl in river bottoms or flooded timber or a marsh setting, or I'm hunting turkeys in, late spring where I need greens. There's so many options, and I did a little breakdown video / podcast on where I like what patterns when it comes to late season hunts or waterfowl hunts, even waterfowl hunts that are in more drab environments with not a lot of greens. It's mostly grays and browns and blacks. I'm going to grab that Highlander pattern almost every single time. But man, the new Skyfall pattern, which is designed for whitetail, works extremely well in our river bottoms out here hunting waterfowl in our late fall, early winter seasons. When it comes around to turkey time, which is the time of year that I'm looking at right now, early in the season, we're still dealing with a lot of browns and drab colors. So I'm going to grab Highlander or I'm going to grab the Skyfall pattern. And as things green up, I'm going to reach for Obscura Transitional. That Obscura Transitional pattern, when you're dealing with any greens and darker, richer browns and tones in a color scheme, in an earlier season forest environment or marsh environment, man, it just disappears. That pattern is phenomenal and really breaks up the silhouette, the human silhouette at distance. I was hunting with Brandon Mason in Canada last fall on a combination waterfowl and black bear hunt, and he was wearing the Obscura Transitional and I was wearing Highlander, and his Obscura Transitional while we were hunting bears was the perfect pattern for being out there. The Highlander that I was wearing was probably a better choice for our waterfowl hides, but again, early season, I want some more greens. I'm going to pick Obscura Transitional. Later in the season, I want more browns and grays and tans. I'm going to go with Highlander or even the Skyfall pattern. But some of the layers that these guys are making too, their clothing is just top notch. I really like the puffy layers. Man, the Air Ace down jacket, Air Ace down hoodie is one of my absolute favorite pieces that I've ever worn from those guys. And I got to test one years and years ago and was impressed with it. And now I get to wear it on my hunts and just love it for a wide range of activities. Another piece that I absolutely love is the Kronos fleece hoodie. That thing is, man, throw it on over just like a regular t-shirt if it's not too cold, or throw it on over a good heavy base layer like their Theos Merino base layer for colder temps, and it is awesome. I could go on and on about the layers. It makes some killer pants, good vest system, great rain gear. I mean, everything that you need as a hunter, Cryptek has got you covered. And again, what really matters to me is that these guys are pro-Second Amendment, American patriots, they're veterans, and they get it. They get that just everything that we're looking at in the world today. They understand it, man. We all got to be on the same page, and I love being partnered with a team like that. They get the vision. They understand where we're headed and the things that we're trying to do, and I just couldn't be happier being partnered with Cryptek. So, hey, check them out on their website, cryptek.com. They've got a zillion great things out there, or shoot me an email at editorial@eastmans.com, and I can help you line out top picks for your next coming hunt. Check them out. Let them know what you guys think. Check out our YouTube channel for gear reviews on different Cryptek pieces. And thanks for tuning in to this week's podcast. Well, episode 79 with Rainout Outdoors. This is a re-record because the first one didn't take, man. How you been?
I've been better. I just had knee surgery at the end of January, actually. I was out duck hunting and ruptured my patella tendon. So I missed the last weekend of duck season of guiding, but, I'm healing back up. And you know what? Tomorrow's opening day of turkey season, and I'm getting ready for that. I'm actually on the road, stopped into a hotel to use their Wi-Fi. And,
nice.
And here I am. So
I love it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, man. Where are you headed turkey hunting? Let's talk about that first, because that's first and foremost, and then we can circle back to ducks and talk about everything we tried to talk about the first time. Tell us, first of all, explain Rainout Outdoors, who you guys are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rainout Outdoors, we're a duck and goose waterfowl outfit here in Western Washington and basically all Washington State. We love duck hunting, we love goose hunting, so we're passionate guys. Two of us, me and my partner Aaron Crum, we put guys on birds. I think the last time we were talking, I was literally watching 10,000 birds in our grass field, bunch of widgeon, and then the next day we went out and shot a 7-man by I think 9:30 or something like that.
You sent me a picture, and like, check this out, it worked. Did you guys kill a Eurasian that day, or something was unique that day?
We killed a dirty storm, and then the next hunt a couple days later, we killed a Euro, a hen Euro, and a storm.
Wow.
3 days later.
So if somebody's looking for a mounter widgeon, they need to come and see you guys.
Absolutely. We've got the widgeon dialed in. We're getting our goose game dialed in too. I mean, we had a couple good goose hunts last year and just trying to dial in that field that we have. We actually just got a new lease just up the road from our other lease, full of geese. And we're trying to figure that field out. We tried to hunt it one day, and it was filled with like 20,000 geese, small geese, all cacklers and some lessers, and a bunch of mallards. So we set up for geese, and we actually just shot 44 mallards instead. Didn't even shoot a single goose.
Oh, that's great. Those aren't bad though. When you're set up for geese and the mallards decide to come play, I'll take that.
Oh yeah,
I'll take that every day.
Oh yeah, it's setting up on an edge and just shooting ducks over goose full bodies. Can't beat that.
Yeah, I had a similar hunt this year that I was waiting for it. About half this cornfield was cut, and there was standing corn in the other half, and the ducks were pounding it at night. Like, you'd go out there and look in the snow, man, and it was just beat down duck poop and tracks and feathers, and I'm like, one of these days we're going to get some weather, and it's going to be epic. And sure enough, it started to snow. And I'm calling everybody. I had the videographer on speed dial, and I'm like, you got to get here. She's like, I can't, my kid's sick. And I'm calling everybody I can to try to get this thing filmed. And it was epic. We didn't end up getting it on film, but we went out, I put together a crew, and it was the same thing, dude. We just threw out full body goose decoys and a couple of spinners, and we stood in that corn. And, it was unreal.
So sometimes, we're trying to go the turkey hunt, but now we're kind of going back to ducks. But
that's all right. We'll get to the turkeys.
Oh yeah. But geese are so much, confidence for ducks.
Yeah.
I've watched like widgeon, for example. They're feeding underneath swans and swans and geese and stuff. And they're picking what the geese are getting out of the ground, and they're just confident decoys. If a person really wanted to hammer a lot of ducks, throw geese out, And like this year, we invested in dive bomb socks. We're going to hide underneath the goose socks, basically make a big black hole, lay underneath the tall socks, and shoot widgeon all day. I talked to actually Matt Judy, which is up north of us. He's the widgeon king, in Western Washington.
Sure.
He gets on the widgeon and the mallards because he's throwing literally just goose socks out and maybe some silhouettes, and he's killing a bunch of ducks. I mean, you see him kill 10, 12, 15 mans almost every hunt.
Wow.
So
now, is he throwing spinners in the mix too, or is it just socks?
Nope, throwing spinners. Depends on the hunt. They're throwing 2 or 3 spinners, kind of like us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're kind of doing the same things, and we're producing a lot of birds. I think last year we only had like 5 or 6 duck hunts, and I think we're over 200 birds for those hunts.
Wow.
Total.
And you're young guys, man. You haven't been doing this very long.
No, we've only been guiding. So this upcoming season will be our 3rd year of guiding. Of course, we've been hunting since we were young. I've been hunting since I was 9. I'll be 25 here in about a month. Aaron is going to turn 30 this year. He's been hunting since he was young as well. So we're just young guys that love the passion, love to take guys that have never been out, waterfowl hunting and experience big spins of widgeon or ducks or geese. I've seen it, he's seen it, but a lot of these guys, they're flabbergasted, when they see 1,000 widgeon just come in and sit. Like we had a flock this year, actually, right after we did the recording that next day, the whole roost lifted and came right over to us. 4,000 of them in our face. That was our first volley of the day.
Oh my!
It was 4,000.
Gosh, and that doesn't blow them out for you guys.
Nope. No, literally. That was, I think 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 or something like that. It was early, and they basically trickled right back in. We were getting, groups of 5, 10s.
That's what
it took them a while.
What you want.
Yeah, it took them a while. We shot into that big flock, and it was about 30-minute low, and then after that, we just started plugging away on ducks, and we ended up shooting like a 7-man by 9:30 that morning. So.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those situations. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's like that big wad shows up, and especially in a dryland situation, you're kind of like, well, they're coming to the feed, so do we bust them? And then you throw in paying clients into the mix, and they're going, why aren't we shooting these birds? But at the same time, man, that's a gamble because with mallards anyway, if you did that with 4,000 mallards, they might not come back. They might not come back.
Yeah, if they were all mallards, it'd be a different story. We probably would have let them work and work and work,
right.
And then have half the flock or whatever sit. And if the big flock went away, we'd shoot the ones on the water or in the field or whatever. But with widgeon, it's crazy. It's like we shot into that flock, and 30 minutes later, here comes 10-pack, 20-pack. We had a 50-pack at one point. It's crazy.
That's
they
awesome.
wanted that. They wanted that field because it's crazy. Right now, they're in there because I've been up there to the property just checking it out, cleaning it up and everything. And they're in there in the dry grass fields. But it's crazy in the month of October, November, if it's not wet, if it's not flooded, they're not in there. Now the geese are, but the widgeon ain't. But once it floods, it's like a refuge. It's crazy because all those seeds are coming up from the grass and stuff in the water, and they're feeding on all that new flooded grass.
Interesting.
That's crazy. Well, it just like over in Eastern Washington here, where we hunt in the Columbia River Basin, we have a spot where it doesn't flood. But once it floods, there's cockaburs, and all those seeds will float up, and those mallards and stuff can't handle it. They'll come right in. So it's just watching, the water and just putting in the time and the effort. That's the main key. I'll drive up. It's an hour from my house to the lease, and I'll drive up there and check it once or twice a week. Yep, they're in here. Let's book, or we got a booking coming already, or whatever. I'm up there a lot scouting and making sure the birds are there. What piece of water or what piece are they in? What field are they in? And, I put in a lot of work. I'm the guy that puts the boots on the ground and go. So.
Right. No, that's so much of it, of any kind of waterfowling, whether you're taking clients or whether you're just doing it for the fun of it. If you don't know what your birds are doing and you're just going out on a wing and a prayer, you're going to struggle. I mean, yeah, you're going to have those days when you get lucky. You know, everybody does. But the guys that are consistently killing birds are the guys that are putting in the most time behind the windshield and looking through binoculars. You know, I've got a pair of Leupold binoculars on the dash of my truck, and I am using those things constantly when I'm looking for birds. Spotting scopes, you know, whatever it might be, I'm always using them, because that is the tool. You know, I would say my pickup and my Leupold binos probably kill more birds for me than anything else, just because, you know, I find them and then finding them, and then I can watch them, and that's why I like my spotter. I'll tripod up my Leupold spotter, and I could zoom in tight on those birds and see what exactly they're doing. Are they just loafing here? Are they screwing around? Are they just flying in here and sitting on the ice? Are they feeding in here? And that's going to dictate to me how I set up my decoys as well. You know, if I've got a bunch of birds, for example, that are just loafing, they're coming in mid-morning into a spot, they're sitting on the ice, they're getting a drink, they might dig around a little bit in the rocks, they might pick at some Russian olives. I'm going to put most of my decoys out that are going to be full bodies or resting type style decoys, like right against the ice. You still with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got you.
Yeah, you're froze up. But that's okay.
Gotcha.
We'll figure. No big deal. But yeah, so I'll set a decoy spread that looks like what those birds are doing, and my optics give me the ability to do that. And I don't have to disturb those birds. I can sit at a distance and watch.
Yeah, that's what I do too. You know, I got a little perch I go up, and I watch these birds. You know, I'll watch them for 2-3 hours at a time until they even leave the field and go loaf somewhere. Because a lot of times when I see these birds, they're feeding. I mean, there's just a line of widgeon, and they're just feeding from the water to the grass. So how we set up our decoys is just like that, and we'll make that feed line that they can't resist, and put a couple spinners out and maybe a jerk cord, depends on the weather. But usually we try to hunt that field when it's the nastiest days, windy or raining, and it sucks for clients. I'm used to it, but those are the funnest days because those birds just give it up even harder. So
that's phenomenal. So are you guys pretty well booked for next year? You got openings? Somebody wants to get a hold of you. How do they do that?
So I've booked a few guys already, but there's plenty of openings right now. I've got mostly everything in December. I got a couple hunts in December right now. I got a hunt in January so far. But booking usually by September, October gets pretty crazy for us. You know, if we still got openings, we book up pretty quick.
Sure. So I got to ask you this: Do you get quite a few local guys that want to come and hunt with you, or is it mostly folks from other places that have found you on social media and stuff?
So we get a lot of local guys. We do. I would say probably 90% are pretty much local guys from the area. You know, probably in a 40-mile radius of us. But overall, like last year, we had some guys from Missouri come out, which was pretty cool. This year, I've got a husband and wife booked, and they're from, I don't know what state, but they're from the East Coast, like Virginia or something like that.
Okay.
They're going to come out 1st of January. He wants a mounter widgeon. I'm like, I got those. I got Euros and Storms.
Ooh. That's so cool, man.
So
that is so cool.
So I mean, we're starting to expand for sure. Our name's starting to finally get out, and you know that hunt that and it was the craziest thing. So that hunt where we shot the Euro, the Storm, and the hen Euro, it was actually a giveaway hunt that I did with Washington Wild Sheep. I'm a board member with them, and they actually bought that hunt for a lot. It was $3,000 they bought that hunt for. I actually knew the gal, and she's like, there better be a T-bone waiting for me in the blind. And I'm like, oh, we'll treat you good. And sure enough, it was a little bit longer hunt. We went till like 1 o'clock, but the birds just weren't flying that day, hardcore. But we still got our birds and took our time and started picking out quality. And yeah, I mean, it was a good day.
That's so
It was
cool.
a really good day.
It's cool when you can pick like individual birds out of groups, you know, and you're looking for, like you said, that storm widgeon. And explain that, because I'm sure I've got some folks listening to this that are like, okay, what's a storm widgeon? What's a Eurasian widgeon or Euro? If you're not from the Rocky Mountain West or the West Coast, where you guys are, basically the Western Central Flyway and the Pacific Flyway, you don't see a lot of the widgeon that we see out here, especially you guys. Explain that to folks, because they might really not understand.
Yeah, so there's an American widgeon, which is basically they got like a cream color on their cheek, and then they got a green stripe down their head. We call them cotton tops. And then you got a Euro or Eurasian widgeon, which is basically all red on top of their head is red. And then a storm is all cream color all the way down. And then we shoot a lot of what we call dirty storms, where it's cream, but on their cheek it still has little black spots.
Okay.
So it's technically a storm, but it's what we call a dirty storm because he's not fully plumed out to be a true storm. So
that's interesting. I think I've only ever seen a handful of the storm widgeon. We have some water treatment ponds here that hold a lot of ducks before they freeze, and the ducks are very visible from the roads, and you can see them. You see folks bird watching and different things. And a couple years ago, there was a true, just perfect storm widgeon out there. And man, I think every waterfowler in the area that hunted any other pond or because you can't hunt those obviously, but hunted a field or anything, they had their eyes peeled for that bird. I mean, you'd go in the gas station in the morning, there's guys duck hunting, getting ready to go out goose hunting or duck hunting, and they're talking, hey man, did you guys see that storm widgeon? You know, I'm keeping an eye out for him. You know, it's hilarious because we don't see very many of them. Excuse me. But yeah, that's super interesting.
I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. So like, we don't see a lot of storms too. I mean, we see a couple maybe each and every year. So storms are harder and harder to come by, but Euros, it seems like their population is just growing.
Really?
Like like in my field last year, I had 10 Euros in my field. 10 in one flock.
Why do you think that is?
I'm just like, I don't know. I haven't done the bio on them and the studies on them, but it's crazy. I'm starting to see more and more Euros. One getting shot, and two I'm seeing. And storms, I'm just not seeing much, and I don't know why. I mean, that's something to ask a biologist around here. Sure. But I don't have an answer. It's just crazy. I hunt over 100 days a year, and I certainly see more and more Euros, even on public land, and than storms. At the end of the day, I mean, I probably see 4 or 5 storms a year versus 20 or 30 Euros a year.
That's funny. I have a rare bird story for you. Since the last time you and I talked, was shortly after we recorded the first time, and it didn't take. But my dad and my brother came out. My brother brought his whole family, but that's a whole other story. But we were joking. He was joking with me. He's like, growing up in Michigan, a pintail was like hen's teeth, man. It's like they didn't exist. And you'd see one occasionally, but super, super rare. Guys that live there and hunt there their whole lives never shoot a pintail, never have a chance at especially a big bull sprig. So they're kind of the bird everybody wants, and it's that way here too. We have a few that are around during that later part of the season in December and early January. But for the most part, they're pretty rare. So my brother comes out and he starts teasing me. The only reason I'm here is I want to shoot a pintail. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. I've been hunting in Wyoming for 16 years, and I've shot one Drake pintail, you know. And so I'm like, this ought to be interesting. So we go and we scout this piece of property that we're going to hunt, and it's loaded with birds. And sure enough, there's 5,000-6,000 mallards on this piece. And we're standing there watching them from a distance, again, with the Leupold glass. And I just catch like a flash of white in my binoculars. I'm like, dude, I think there's a penny down there. And he pulls up his binos and he's like, that's a Drake pintail. And it was sitting on the ice. And it was just down from where we wanted to set up in the morning. And I was like, well, this ought to be interesting. So we go down in the morning. We'd already agreed, you know, we're not shooting into big groups. We're gonna let those birds fly around, do their thing, and then we'll shoot small groups, singles, pairs, you know, things like that as they come back into the decoys. Because it's 99% mallards, right? Yeah. And some honkers mixed in. But we're standing there, and first Drake mallard just about lands right in the decoys. My dad shoots it. Dog goes out and gets it. While I'm working, taking the bird from the dog, I'm like bent over in the blind looking down, get this bird from my dog. I hear boom, and we're filming this. I hear boom. No way, dude, you got him. My brother was just standing there watching, and this Drake pintail flew by in a group of mallards, and it was up there. It wasn't like they decoyed, but it was in range, and he stones it, and it hits the water, and he's stoked. He's dancing up and down, and I'm like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? You know, because he's not used to hunting our fast western rivers. He's like, it fell downriver, and it's dead, dude. It went down hard. I'm like, okay. And I got both dogs, and I'm running down the bank looking. There's no bird on the water. I can't find it. I don't see it. I'm like, maybe it fell on the bank. So I'm looking. Well, about this time, he realizes how fast this water's going. So he just takes off down the bank. He finds his pintail washed up in a log jam like 400 yards downriver. He said he's walking along, just about getting ready to be sick to his stomach, and he looks and he sees this little white blob kind of floating, bumping up against this log. And he gets out there and he's like, dude, that's my pintail. And he got it. He recovered. He was able to crawl out on this log jam and over this fast water, and it was honestly in a spot where the dog couldn't have gotten it because it was too deep, and it would have sucked the dog under, and it worked. Dude, it worked out perfectly. But that's that kind of mystique around some of these rare birds, whether it's a Drake pintail or a bull canvasback or, you know, a storm widgeon or a euro or whatever it might be, whatever bird somebody's really excited about and looking for. That's one of the cool things about waterfowl in my mind is you can have the opportunity to do that in certain areas, and you live in a part of the country where you guys can do that.
Yeah, I mean, here in Washington State, we've got it all. I mean, that's kind of the crazy thing. We've got sea ducks, we've got divers, we've got puddle ducks. I mean, and like a bird that I know my buddy Aaron's been chasing a lot is a Mr. Hollywood, a fully plumed out Drake spoonbill.
Yep.
It's the craziest thing, right? But they are pretty birds when they're fully plumed out. I mean, a green head, white, brown. I mean, they got all the colors, right?
Oh yeah, but they're gorgeous birds.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of, you know, not a bird that I want, but, you know, I'd rather have like a black duck or a bull canvasback or another Drake giant pintail like I've shot before, and like that's the crazy thing. So like, you know, Central Flyway and stuff, you guys do get a few pintails out here. You know, it's crazy. Like, we have a 1 pintail limit, but I've seen so many pintails like at our field too. Like, there'll be pintails and widgeon mixed in, and like some big bull sprigs, like some giants.
Yeah.
Like you're talking like 8-10 inch, you know, sprigs on the back.
Yeah, we
like
don't get
big birds.
We don't even see that. You know, we get birds. The pintails we kill, they got like 4 or 5 inch sprigs. You know, but it's a fully plumed out January Drake pintail. That's really wild, dude. Because I know a handful of guys from California that grew up there and live here now, and they talk about, oh man, shooting pintails was like nothing. You'd shoot a whole limit of pintails on some of those places around, around Sacramento River Delta and some of that stuff down there. And I had a video this year that was shown to me at the Western Hunt Expo in Salt Lake City. Some friends of mine were down there and they were hunting geese while they were down there. Duck season was closed, and they had video of probably 1,000 to 1,500, maybe more than that. I mean, it was a cloud of nothing but pintails diving into their goose decoys, just dive bombing them. And I've never seen anything like that. Never.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like even on the east side here, when we hunt our public spots, I mean, we'll shoot at least probably 2 or 3 pintails a hunt usually. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we have such good numbers of birds, and that's why that's why we're able to shoot 7 birds a day,
right?
And 4 geese, and that's the cool thing. I mean, yeah, we can stack up big stacks of birds, but at the end of the day, that's not what it's about for me. I mean, yeah, it's cool to shoot limits and stuff like that, and to shoot quick limits. Like in November, after I got back from my Wyoming deer hunt, I mean, we broke open an ice hole in one of our public spots, and we shot a 3-man of mallards and pintails and by 9 with 3 guys
on public.
Pretty quick hunt and on public.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, our public spot that we have, I mean, I call it the honey hole for a reason, because once it comes up and floods and all those seeds are on top of the water, throw 3-4 dozen decoys, couple spinners, and you'll have wads of 50, 100 mallards sit on you at 20 yards.
Dude, that's super rare for public anymore. I talk to guys from the Southeast or from the Arkansas area, Arkansas, Mississippi, the Delta region, wherever it might be, and hunting public like I grew up doing in the upper Midwest it's a war. And if you've got a dialed in public spot, man, you cherish it. You don't tell anybody. It's like you sneak in and out. And growing up, if we didn't hunt public, we didn't hunt a lot. We could get on a lot of places, but public was where that was our bread and butter, was hunting a lot of that public stuff growing up as a kid. And man, it's just changing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same here. We still hunt the publics and stuff. And I mean, I never really hunted private much. I mean, I had a couple fields, where I grew up in Enumclaw, Washington, and, but it wasn't like great hunts. When we wanted to go have big hunts, we go east, and hunt like Moses Lake and Tri-Cities area and, hunt the rivers when it gets cold. But like this spot we found, my buddy from Yakima found it actually, and had 20 widgeon on it. That was it. And he's like, oh, let's go shoot some widgeon. Well, all right, shooting widgeon in the desert. All right, I'm game. We go in there, shoot nothing but mallards the first hunt. And then the next day I shoot a band out of the hole.
Oh, geez.
The very next day. So it's crazy. But the thing is, it's just a little piece that cuts in from the main water that we hunt because it's shallow enough to walk in and out of. And there'll be guys all the way around us. Like we had one guy set up 60 yards behind us one morning. We had 4 of us, and literally we're in there at 3:00 in the morning, got our spot, had a fire, it was cold. All of a sudden, 30 minutes before shooting light, this guy rolls in behind us and just sets up and shooting. So first flock of the day, swinging, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 right behind us. I'm like, all right. He did that 4 times to us until I finally went over and told him, like, dude, we've been here since 3 a.m. We slept in our trucks last night. Like you're screwing us. And I got a kid with me too. Like I got a little 17-year-old kid with me for, not first hunt, but,
right.
Growing up and want to teach him
right.
He left. It was a Sunday. He left, shot his birds, whatever. Literally 2 hours later, we were done with our 4-man after he left.
Nice. So it worked out.
It worked out at the end, but that's public land for you.
That's yeah. And it's a tough call because with 4 guys, sometimes you could, in the right scenario, you could run over there and say, hey man, we've been here, we're all set up, ready to go. Why don't you come and jump in with us? And I've done that a lot, especially on public ground where it's like, instead of competing against each other, we can sit together and do this. It's way easier to do that if there's only one or two of you, and then the third guy shows up and he's by himself or whatever, especially if there's no dogs involved or whatever it might be. I mean, the more factors, the more involved, the more difficult that becomes. But, you know, that's kind of the reality of it. We've all had those scenarios where you're set up early, you get in there, and somebody comes in ready to shoot and light, and they screw the whole thing up for everybody. That's going to happen, but I don't know. I got 20 years on you, and I've gotten to the point where if I can mitigate that by going and getting somebody and be like, hey, come and jump with us, man. We got lots of coffee, we got donuts over here. Come and jump in with us, and then you keep an eye on them, obviously, because you want to make sure everybody's safe. Yep. I find myself doing that more and more and more, and we lease some ground here. We still hunt some public stuff, but everything's changing all around the country. Even here, you know, the opportunities that we have here are very limited, actually. And it's not like other places where there's birds everywhere. There's very, very limited opportunity, and so the pressure gets ratcheted up real quick on spots. And so a lot of that live and let live and cooperation and trying to work together and work things out goes a long way and keeps everybody happy and on birds. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's a blessing and a curse, because I love having a brotherhood full of waterfowlers, but at the same time, we can be our own worst enemies if we're not careful, you know?
Exactly. And that's where, I mean, social media comes into play and all these other things too, right? And, you know, I've seen it more and more. Social media can be good. Social media can be really bad.
Right.
You know, like anymore when I post a photo, I don't try to have a backdrop, especially when I'm on my public, you know, and it's tough too, because, you know, you see me in the timber and a lot of guys know where I'm at, like the area, but they don't know exactly what spot I'm hunting. And the funny thing was, you know, kind of jumping back to what you said about having people join, we pulled up one night into the spot where we're going to hunt, and that honey hole spot, and there was 2 rigs there. And I'm like, well, let's go talk to them. So we went and talked to them, and 2 guys, great guys, still talk to them today, actually. And we asked them where they were going. They're like, oh, we're going about, you know, this is where, you know, pull up Onyx and stuff. And he's like, well, we're going to hunt right here. Well, that was only like 100 yards from where we were going to hunt.
Right.
And we had 3 guys, and I'm like, well, what about this? You guys jump in with us. They're like, well, my wife and her friend's coming. I'm like, oh, awesome. Let's get the woman, you know, the women involved, and, you know, they can join. So we had 7 guys rolling out and a dog, which was a little tough. But the funny thing was the guy recognized me from social media.
Really?
He's like, are you the guy that lays behind all those ducks? Because I have a couple photos where I'm like the old playboy, you know, on my side.
Yeah, I've seen him.
Oh, yeah. And he's like, is that you? I'm like, Hills and High Water? Yep, that's me. That's my other page. Yep. And ended up having a great time. And we shot a 7-man that day of birds, and between mallards, pintails, teal, cool. Some widgeon. I mean, it's just a mixed bag, but we had fun. The girls got to shoot some birds, and their first ever duck hunt. And they had a one heck of a duck hunt. It was slow in the morning, but it was cold. I'm like, they're on feed still. That 10, 11 o'clock flight came rolling in, and we were done by 3 o'clock that day.
That's so cool, man. Well, that's what I mean, though. Those opportunities exist, and you made a fan, you know, out of somebody that could have been competition, you know, and so here's the deal. And I know I promised to talk about turkeys, but you got me thinking about something here with that. And I'm going to go down a little rabbit trail, and I'm going to pick on you a little bit because you're from Washington. But doing stuff like that, where we band together in the field, strengthens this bond of brotherhood of waterfowlers and hunters in general, right? You guys in Washington are going through probably the most blatant attack on your hunting privileges, because I don't know, I don't know if hunting in Washington is a right, like it is. It's a constitutional right here in Wyoming. I don't know if it is in Washington or not. But man, you guys have lost your spring bear season. You have a commission, wildlife commission, that's packed with anti-hunters and anti-gun people and environmentalist whack jobs. And they're all hand-picked by your governor. And so if in a situation like that, I mean, that's the blueprint. The blueprint is to get rid of all hunting by legislative efforts and by ballot biology. And well, if you don't have any hunting seasons, guess what? You don't need any guns. You know, I used to think that was a conspiracy theory. Seriously, and now the older I get, I'm like, I don't think it is. I think that's been the play all along. You look at states like Colorado that just did this ballot biology with wolves, with their wolf reintroduction, when they already had wolves coming down out of Wyoming, repopulating, and now they're going to tack more on. Well, what's that going to do? That's going to crush your big game populations and knock those down to the point where, well, now we don't have enough animals to hunt, and there's not enough elk left to hunt, or the mule deer are run ragged, and there's not enough of them. So they're going to manage. They're stripping down and destroying the North American model of wildlife conservation with predator reintroduction, and that leads to, well, we got wolves and bears and mountain lions managing ungulate big game populations. We don't need hunters to do that. And the waterfowl guys are sitting on the sidelines going, oh yeah, you know, that sucks for the deer hunters, but I don't hunt deer anyway, or I'd rather hunt ducks. Well, guess who they're coming for next, dude? They're coming for the waterfowl guys next. And then it's the upland guys. And then it's the small game hunters. So doing stuff where we create a bond of brotherhood and we're not each other's enemies out there in the field is vital. We have got to band together and be a loud voice. Otherwise, it's all gone. Your kids, my kids aren't gonna be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like they're taking away our right and what we love to do, and we're all for the same cause, right? We're all out there hunting and fishing and enjoying the outdoors. You know, banding together as a brotherhood is the right thing to do. You know, We're not enemies to each other. You know, yeah, we have our secret spots and this and that, but like I work at a shop in Fife, Washington, Sportco, sporting goods, and you know we're seeing it right now because we got the AR ban right now here in Washington State that we're seeing at work, but I work back at the archery counter and you know as an archery tech, and you know I tell guys, I'm like, here's an area to go, you know, go check this area out. For big game or waterfowl. I'm not giving them actual spots. I'm just giving them areas.
You still got to do your homework. I do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the Eastman side of thing is we help people figure out how to hunt big game and how to draw tags in today's world.
Exactly.
And we help people with how to be the best hunter they can be. Now, I'm not giving dudes GPS coordinates or an Onyx waypoint to a specific spot. But dude, it's in all of our best interest to help each other out. And if I know some guy that drew a sweet elk tag here in Wyoming, I'll be like, hey man, you know, I had that tag 2 years ago and this is what I found. Good luck.
Yeah.
You know, and general OTC spots, that's different. You got to protect that stuff. It's no different than your public land waterfowl spots. But if you get there and you've got somebody that's there ahead of you or comes in on you while you're there, instead of handling that situation like an asshole, give them some grace, man, and try to do the right thing. And not everybody wants to play nice. You know, that happens too. I see that too, where it's like, you know, hey, screw you, I was here first, or you know, you're sleeping in your truck, why don't you, you know, whatever. Yeah. But at least you got to try. You got to try to be the bigger person, you know. Yeah,
try to be the best man or woman you can be in that situation, and roll with it. You know, at the end of the day, you know, that's why I'm part of a bunch of conservation groups, and you know, I'm like I said, I'm part of Washington Wild Sheep Board of Directors.
Good for you.
You know, I'm a life member of a bunch of other, you know, wild sheep and DU and you know a bunch of other conservation groups, because you know I want to see my great grandchildren see the same things that I did, like wild sheep, bighorn sheep up in the mountains that I grew up hunting, or the elk, the deer, the waterfowl, all these things, because if we don't do something, all of it's going to be gone.
You're absolutely right, man. The Africa had all the African countries and the guys, the professional hunters and the professional hunting organizations and things over there, Dallas Safari Club, whoever it might be, has a saying: if it pays, it stays. And I got news for you, man. If those big game seasons get stripped away because we've got wolves running the show, and hey, we don't need hunters out there managing wildlife anymore. We can't kid ourselves. The people on the other side of this don't care about wildlife. They care about you and I not hunting and not having guns. That's what they care about. They don't care about wildlife, because if they did, we have a scientifically proven model that's worked for over 200 years, and it is the best wildlife management model in the world. We've brought species back from the brink of extinction with the North American model of wildlife conservation. And I might be off. I know I'm off with the 200-year thing. I know that somebody's going to leave a comment where you're like, you're an idiot. It's not 200 years, but that's fine. Whatever.
Close enough.
Yeah, you get the point.
Yeah.
But the point,
it's been going on for years.
Yeah, exactly. And once that's gone, your sheep, your elk, your pronghorn, your mule deer populations, they're going to go with it. Because if there's no incentive, if those animals don't have a monetary value to them through managed big game hunting and, let's face it, the federal duck stamp, why would Ducks Unlimited, let's bring it back to waterfowl. Why would Ducks Unlimited need to conserve acres? Why would Delta need to promote sound predator management if there's no money in it? Because there's no hunters putting money in through the Pittman-Robertson Fund.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gone. It's gone. It goes away. And man, I see it plain as day. Like I said, I used to think it was a conspiracy theory. I'll be 45 here in like 3 weeks. I hate to say that, but the grumpy old man, get off my lawn, But seriously, I see it now, and I'm like, dude, if we're going to have stuff for our kids and our grandkids to do, if you want to keep steelhead fishing, because, I'm following your other page too, and you just had a picture of holding up some tasty vittles that look like hatchery whackers to me. I couldn't tell.
Oh, yeah.
I was pretty sure those were hatchery whackers bound for the deep fryer and the smoker.
They were, yeah, a couple 15-pound hens.
Those were
steelhead
gorgeous.
hatcheries.
Big old egg wagons, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
So that's another passion of mine. If you can't tell, I love to fish, and growing up in the Great Lakes, we call them steelhead. You guys think they're lake run rainbows, but they're the same fish anyway.
Yes, they are.
But that stuff goes away too,
Yes.
because there's no money to run a fish hatchery anymore. Because guess what? Once they take away that, then the next thing will be fishing, because they don't. I think these people are just miserable jerks that don't want anybody to enjoy their life.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to know something crazy about Washington? So, all the money for our tags or for permits, this and that and the other, it doesn't go to the wildlife fund. It goes to the general fund.
See, that's crap, man.
Yeah, but that's our governor. That's the person who runs our state.
Yeah, that's crap.
And that's what I hate about. Don't get me wrong. This state is great. It has everything: the rainforest, the mountains, the desert,
right.
Everything, right? But it's the people here that make it worse. And makes it. I almost hate living here, but yet the hunting and fishing is great.
Sure.
But it's the people.
For now.
At the end of the day.
And you guys are outnumbered too, because you've got the bulk of your population lives in one big metro area, right?
Yep.
It's just like Colorado. It's just like Michigan. It's just like Minnesota. You got all these states that are full of really great sportsmen and women, passionate hunters and fishermen and trappers, passionate outdoorsmen, and they get outvoted by people living in the city, in the metro areas. Minneapolis,
Yep.
Detroit, Seattle. We could sit here and make a list as long as your arm. Denver, and it's over and over and over again. The only reason that they're doing that wolf thing in Colorado is because all the people on the Front Range voted for it. They don't have a clue because they don't care. They got mountain lions eating their Labrador retrievers, for crying out loud, but they don't care, about the wolves, because that's on the other side of the mountains, and we want Colorado to be wild again. It's a detachment with reality and detachment from scientific wildlife management, and it's this emotionally driven idiocy and it's ruining what we have built as a country, as a continent, really, because our Canadians are in this with us. Let's face it, if we don't have the duck factory, the Canadians joke all the time about, we raise 90% of the ducks, the Americans shoot 90% of the ducks. Well, that's not totally wrong, because ducks just don't stay around that long in Canada. But yeah, man, I don't mean to rant.
We could go on and on about this.
I don't mean to rant, but holy smokes, I'm passionate about this, if you can't tell.
No, and I'm the same way. And we could go on and on all day and weeks about this. And, we got to get more and more people involved in the conservation part. If you hunt and fish, but you're not, doing the conservation part, you're still helping, but you're not at the same time. Get involved with a local DU chapter, or Delta, or, Rocky Mountain elk or mule deer or wild sheep. Just get involved. Try to help out. Try to help the cause.
100%. We just did a thing. We just showed our sage grouse video down at the Wyoming DSC banquet, the Dallas Safari Club chapter of the Wyoming. I didn't realize what a powerhouse Dallas Safari Club is as an organization, and how they raise. So you'll get this. 95% of the money that the local DSC chapters raise stays local.
Yep.
They say they do 3 fundraisers, and they raise $50,000 at one, $40,000 at another, and $62,000 at another one. The only time that 5% of that administrative costs comes out of the 62%, where it's the highest cost. So they're like, we'll take our 5% cut there, because they want those local chapters to have the most money possible. And then those local chapters can turn around and decide where they want to spend that money. It may be on a habitat restoration project in Washington State. It may be on a sage grouse project in Casper, Wyoming. Don't know, but you're spot on, dude, when you say get involved with these conservation groups. They're all good. They all do a good job. They all have they're all doing things for the right reasons, but get involved and get active in the legislative process, and go to Fish and Game meetings, speak your piece, voice your opinions, and then when it comes time to vote, don't be lazy. Get out and vote and actually make a difference and make an impact. We, as hunters and fishermen, if we don't get off the sidelines and get involved at a very aggressive and high level, it's going to be gone in 5 years or 10 years.
Exactly. Yep.
You guys are seeing it right now.
Yes, we are. Same with Oregon too.
Yes. Yeah, Oregon's next. And oh man. Anyway. We could get, like you said, wound up and talk about this all day long. But you're on the road to go hunt turkeys.
Yes,
Without giving us a secret spot, where are you going?
So I'm going down to the southeast corner of Washington State, down the Blue Mountains. We got Merriam's and Rios down there, Rio Grandes.
Cool.
I've got this little chunk of 20 acres I hunt every year. Family friend of ours, bunch of turkeys, and they've been seeing a lot of turkeys lately too. There's still a little bit of snow on the ground, I've heard. They sent me a few photos. But last year I shot 2 toms and 6-8 inches of snow last year, so it's not a big deal for me.
Yeah, mountain birds don't care about snow, dude. They still do their thing.
Oh yeah, exactly. So we're gonna go over.
That's awesome. So you got a mix of Rios and Merriams. Do they intermix? Do they intermingle? Or you see them in, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I see Merriams and Rios together pretty much, pretty common. Like I've seen a
Okay.
Rio and a Merriam side by side, coming
Okay.
into to my decoys and stuff. A lot of times you never know what's going to come in, right? I
Sure.
mean, they gobble the same, a lot of the times, and
Oh yeah, they
those
sound
mountain
very
birds,
similar, right?
they sound very similar, and you never know. I mean, if they don't strut for you, you kind of don't know unless you can see the whites, the whites of the tips on the Merriams, or
Right,
more of a
right.
brownish tint on a Rio. I have a Grand Slam of turkeys. I went down to Florida a couple years ago and shot my Osceola. So
Cool.
I haven't finally got my Grand Slam, and I've killed a bunch of turkeys. And this trip's more for my dad's never killed one. He's watched me kill quite a few. So I'm gonna take him and have him shoot his first bird, and
Heck yeah,
and then
man.
next weekend go right back to the same property with one of my bosses. He's never been down there. I think he's killed one turkey, but that's it. I mean, so he's never been down there. He wants to go. I want to take him and show him what my paradise looks like.
That's
Because
cool.
I mean, it's 6 hours from my house. That's the only bad thing.
That's
but that's
welcome to
where
hunting turkeys in Wyoming.
yeah,
That's the way it is. I mean, we have a few turkeys here local, but if you want good turkey hunting, man, it's a 5 or 6 hour drive.
yeah.
We just
And
don't
that's
have lots of birds right close.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some birds on the west side, and they're easterns, but they're all on private, and good luck trying to get on them.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, I mean, right where I'm at, I'm in Ellensburg right now. There is turkeys around me right here, but I'd rather just go over to my private spot and pound them there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And plus, with my knee, and like I said, I'm 11 weeks out of surgery right now from knee surgery.
Good
So
for you, man. Good for you out there
uh,
getting after it.
and not I can't really pound the hills right now. I
Yeah,
don't know if my doctor would allow me to. So,
right.
Quick little walk out to the back of the property and set up some decoys, set in the blind, and wait for them.
There you go.
But
Yep.
I've done it all. I've done running and gunning. I've sat for them. I've done everything, and it's fun. And turkey hunting, it's to me it's like elk hunting, but a 20-pound bird.
Right.
So
Right.
it. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean it's fun.
Don't get Guy Eastman started on that. Holy smokes! If you bring
yeah.
that, it's like hunting. They're like hunting elk. No, they're not. He'll get all fired up. It's funny. But I've tried so hard to get him and his brother Ike out and get on birds. We had a trip lined up with the guys from Leupold out in Oregon, and we were going to come out and hunt birds out there this spring. And schedules and just couldn't get it aligned, couldn't get it worked out. So hopefully in the future we can do that one.
Yeah.
That would be super cool. But yeah, I want to get Guy. I want Guy in particular. I want to get Guy on a bird. I don't know if he'll do it. I can't see him doing it. But he's not
he's so big in the big game.
Dude, he's not a turkey guy at all. And I would love to have him in there. Get him sat down, kind of a run and gun scenario. My dream would be to put him on, like, we strike a gobble and we set up and I call this bird in, it comes smoking in, just gobbling and thundering, spitting and drumming, and he smokes it at like 5 yards, 10 yards. That's like my dream scenario. Will that ever happen? I don't know, but I can guarantee you that if I could get him that experience, he might give me a nod about, okay, they're kind of like elk.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, if you're chasing mountain birds like we do here, we're chasing turkeys in like elk woods.
Oh yeah,
you're chasing them on.
Same, dude. Same here.
Yeah.
I'm literally going to go hunt my
it.
general tag, turkey tag, my general Wyoming turkey tag in a very low turkey density area that is the same place that we hunt elk when we can draw the tag. Same spot. In fact, we hunt elk and there's turkeys running around. You'll hear them gobble, and even in the fall. And I've kind of earmarked some of these spots. I have a handful of waypoints on Onyx that I'm going to check. And I'm going to go do it. This year, I don't have all my turkey plans have fallen through. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hunt local. And I know we don't have a lot of birds, but I'm going to give it a whack. And it's going to be hunting literally in the same areas where we hunt elk. it'll either work or it won't, but I know there's a handful of birds in there. You know, the cool thing about it is too, is I'm going to let my wife be the shooter, and I'll call, and I'm going to carry a rifle or a bow, one of the two, because our bear season is going to be running concurrent with our turkey season. And we got black bears, well, grizzlies too, but black bears and grizzly bears all over where we're going to be hunting turkeys. How cool would that be to double up and kill a gobbler and a black bear on the same hunt, same trip? That's what I'm talking about.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm stoked for you, man. I've got the turkey bug pretty bad. I can tell you're chomping at the bit to get on to camp. You got the turkey decoy in the back seat of the truck, staring me in the face, and I'm gonna let you go.
Brand new.
Ooh, what is it?
It's just an Avian X. It's just the LCD. But that's actually a bird I killed last year. I've never used a true strutter because I've always hunted public. So it's, you can't really do that on public. So I'm going to try it out.
That's a good way to get shot.
Good way to get shot. So, but no, I'm going to try it out, see how those birds react, something different that they've never really seen, and go from there.
Cool. Well, it'll be interesting. I'd be interested to see get your feedback on it, where you're at. What I have experienced since turkey seasons have been pushed back. They've gotten later and later, as you know. Used to be turkey season in Wyoming opened April 1st. And a strutter with a real fan was key. Like if you put it out, and at that time you still had big flocks of birds all flocked up and grouped up around food sources, and they're totally establishing the pecking order and dominance. And you put a strutter out where they could see it, and you just sit there. You didn't need to call, and they would just come screaming into that thing. And you'd shoot birds flopping around. You better have like a bunch of buddies, because when you shoot one bird, he starts flopping around, 10 more come to beat on him. And you could literally limit out guys like on a waterfowl hunt and never get up. The first time I experienced that, I was blown away because I'd never seen anything like it. But now, since he's pushed these seasons back later in the year, the birds are less interested in establishing dominance and more interested in breeding. And what I've seen on our birds here in Wyoming and Montana these last 3-4 seasons has been zero interest in a strutter, to the point where if they see it, they won't come. They'll turn around, and their body language completely changes. They turn around and they go the other way. So be interested to see what you run into. You know, you guys have had, it's been a late spring pretty much everywhere. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, maybe your birds are a little behind. I think ours are out here, just from what I've seen. So yeah, let me know.
Yeah, what I've heard that they're still grouped up a little bit. So we'll see how they're going to react. So my little trick is I put a little lay down hen, and I usually put just a jig decoys right on top of her. And that's how I usually hunt these birds. So I want to see, using that strutter decoy, see how they react.
It'll be interesting. I know I've had to ditch the strutter on most of my hunts these last couple of seasons. In fact, out of the last 6 gobblers I've shot, the only bird I've had come just storming into the decoys and be real super aggressive was 6 years ago now. And it was to the Jake and lay down hen setup that you're talking about. That bird came in angry and wanted to fight. But other than that, it's been like last year in Montana, we just dropped that video on the YouTube channel. And dude, it was the hardest turkey hunting I've ever done in my life. These birds would gobble and they wouldn't even give you a chance. We had one scenario where I called in a gobbler and 3 jakes, and the gobbler never came out from behind this big tree. You could see it on camera. I had no shot at this gobbler. Dan's running the camera, and he's like, I'm on him, and I can't see him. I had no shot. And he turned around and walked straight away from me. And it was the only bird that I actually called in the entire time we were hunting. And they gobble and literally round up their hens and move away from you. Gobbling the whole time, but walking away from you with their hens. And I'm like, dude, what in the world? We ended up killing 2 birds. There was one bird that we found the very first night of that we got there. We got set up on him that next morning, and I did the whole thing, exactly what you just said. I had decoys, I had the whole 9 yards, and we had blinds set up. We were going to have Dan try to shoot him with a guillotine, and bird came in, left his hens, came in. He got to about 100 yards where he could see the decoys, stopped, deflated, turned around, and walked away gobbling. It's on camera, and I'm like, okay. We ended up killing that bird 2 days later, he was in the exact same spot, strutting with 3 hens, and wouldn't come. And all I did is I just kept like purring and scratching in the leaves, and I stalked in on him and popped up and shot him. He was within, I got to him like 30 yards, and I just, with a little bit of calling and stalking to cover up my noise, so I sounded like another turkey, I was able to get close enough to kill him, but it was crazy. And we ended up doing the same thing on the last day. Dan Picard made probably the best shot I've ever seen a human being make with a bow. He lopped the head off a bird at 30 yards on a spot and stock bird. Same thing. We got the birds to gobble in the morning. They would not come to us. They were all staged up. We got up on a vantage point with the pickup where we could see, and I was like, okay, there they are. We got a round on them, and he stalked in, and I was filming it. He stalked in, and he shot a bird's head off with that guillotine at 30 yards. I was like, dude, that's unreal.
Can't get much better than that.
No. I'm making lemonade out of lemons. It was just, the weather was bad. It was rainy, crappy. The birds they would not respond. They'd gobble, but they wouldn't come to you at all. And it was like, it was hard. But we got it done, killed a couple of birds. I hope that's not the case for you. I hope you go out and they just come storming in and you guys have just a slam dunk of a turkey hunt.
I hope so. Me and my dad both got 2 turkey tags because in those areas we're not the northeast corner and the southeast, we can shoot two in the spring. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm not gunning for a bird if I don't have to. I'd rather see my dad shoot.
Yeah.
And get him his couple birds. Last year I shot 2 off the property. I'm not I don't need to kill any more turkeys right now.
Yeah.
I'd rather see other people kill. So
it's funny. I'm in the same boat, dude. If I can get my wife a bird, I'm all over it. I don't get to hunt with my dad and my brother very often, but if I get my wife a bird this spring, that'd be the highlight.
Yeah. And that's, for me, it's kind of, I guess, the guide side of me coming out, because it's like, I don't need to kill. It's like, at the end of the day, I'm only, like I said, I'll be 25 May 6th. So, I mean, it's not a big deal for me. But yeah, I've been hunting since I was 9 years old. So I've seen and I've done a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't need to kill every, a lot of people want to go out and that's their goal, is to kill something. But the killing part of it's only 2 seconds of the whole thing usually.
It goes fast.
Getting there. Yeah. It's getting there, the drive there, the hiking, the preparing, all this and that. And then, the kill is just very quick at the end of the day. So.
No, you're spot on. There's so much more to this game of hunting, and we're coming full circle. There's so much more to this game of hunting that we enjoy and we love than the killing. If you're not killing, okay, you take a camera. It's the finality of it. Plus, I get to take those birds home, those elk home, those deer home, whatever it might be, and I get to eat them. My family pretty much lives on wild game. We don't, other than bacon, I don't think, maybe a little chicken now and then, but otherwise, dude, we eat wild game. I got a black bear roast in the crock pot right now, waiting for Friday night dinner.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's a big part, but there's so much that goes into all the preparation, all of the time. And if you do it right, you get to enjoy that. The hunt is not just while you're out there or the kill, it's all of it if you do it right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Exactly.
Thank you for jumping back on, taking the time, and dude, thank you for all that you do for serving on boards and being part of the conservation of wildlife, because it's without us doing that, it's not going to last. So I appreciate it, dude.
Sir.
If you could only hunt one bird one way, what's it going to be?
Waterfowl wise?
Anything, any bird, one way.
Bird wise, I'd probably stick to the waterfowl side, and I would probably have to go with mallards. Just a simple green head, bright northern feet down in your face at 10 yards in a cornfield. Can't beat it.
Yeah, buddy.
Cannot beat it.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Stay in touch, man. I love what you guys do, following you on social media. And it's Rainout Outdoors on Instagram. And what's the other page that you guys have?
So the other page that you follow that you saw my steelhead on is my personal page,
Okay.
and it's Hills and High Waters Adventures.
Hills and High Water
That's
Adventures.
my personal page.
Okay.
And then our business page is Rainout Outdoors on Instagram. If you guys want to book a trip, get a hold of us there, or get a hold of my Hills and High Water page, and I'll help you guys out. If you're listening and want to book a waterfowl hunt, just let me know.
Cool. Sweet. We'll see you down the road, brother.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.